Today's video is going to be about mites and the necessary steps you need to rid yourself of these pesky critters. Typically, mites are inadvertently introduced to your tarantula's cage via dirt, mulch, branches, plants, and mainly prey items. The best way to check for mites is at night with a flashlight and the lights off. And basically what you want to do is shine a flashlight and look very carefully on the edges and around the water dish of your tarantula's container. But when you are checking, you have to be very, very patient because mites are very tiny and hard to see. So you have to almost sit there for a while and really look carefully. If mites are discovered, you need to act fast. Don't put it off for another week. Do this process the very same day the mites are discovered, or at least the very next day. Mites are like cancer. The sooner you treat it, the better your chances are of eradicating it. After the discovery of a mite infestation, remove the container's contaminated lid and do not put it on a shelf, on the floor, or on top of the next tarantula cage. You want to eliminate all possible ways of transferring mites to your other tarantula cages. So after removal of the lid, immediately place the lid into the freezer. The two things you're going to remove from the cage is the water dish, because this will freeze into ice, and most importantly, the tarantula. It's very important that you don't forget the tarantula in the cage before you put it in the freezer. If you accidentally put your tarantula in the freezer, your tarantula will die. And this particular spider made an appearance on my last feeding video as well. So after removing the tarantula from the container, you're going to want to put it in a temporary enclosure. In this particular case, it's a smaller Tupperware, and it's only going to be in there for about 2 or 3 days, so it'll be fine. Okay, now that the tarantula is secured in its little temporary enclosure, what you want to do is put the entire infected container, including the furniture, the little hide, and then the cup holder. The cup holder doesn't have any water in it. And then you're just going to put it inside the freezer. The next thing you want to do is make a bleach and water solution. And basically what I did was I put 1 part bleach and 2 parts water. Now if you look at my setup, I actually have tarantula containers below the one shelf that was actually affected by the mites. So what I would do is I would remove everything that's underneath the area that you're going to disinfect. The one thing that I did, if I noticed that one cage was affected with mites, I actually processed every single cage that was on that shelf through the freezer. So because this video is for training purposes only, I'm not actually spraying the bleach onto the shelving unit, so it's just showing you how I would clean it if I did. So I didn't remove the containers from the bottom because I'm not actually spraying the bleach. So about 24 to 48 hours later, then you would remove the container from the freezer. Any mites, scuttleflies, gnats, or any of the eggs of these pests would be killed during this freezing process. After removing the container from the freezer, the substrate will be frozen. So you have to give it about 2 or 3 days to actually thaw out. So basically what I do is I leave the lid inside of the container and it leaves it open so that it can thaw out a little bit more quicker. Then all you need to do is add your water container back into the cage, and then your tarantula back in the cage, and then put your lid back on. And this is actually a proven and very effective way to get rid of these mites. Well, folks, summertime is upon us once again. And this is my Chilean rose tarantula drinking water. And what this proves is that even the most diehard of the desert tarantulas require water. Nearly all tarantulas in all caging arrangements require a water dish. Most importantly, when your tarantula molts, its internal body must be thoroughly hydrated for this process. If your tarantula is dehydrated, most likely the tarantula will suffer molting problems and maybe even death during this process. Anyways, the time required to rinse, fill, or replace the water dish once a week is really insignificant. So please give your tarantulas water. These magnificent animals depend on you for their very survival.